Hello and welcome to another video. Today we will be solving this problem. Brian has $60 in his savings account. His brother Chris has $135 in his. Brian decides to save $5 of his allowance each week, while Chris decides to spend his whole allowance along with $10 of his savings each week. After how many weeks will Brian and Chris have the same amount of money in their savings, and how much will that be? The first step would be to set up this problem. Let's start out by trying to figure out how many weeks it'll take for Chris and Brian to reach the same amount of money. Brian has $60 in his savings account, and he keeps adding $5 each week. Brian has $135 in his savings account and is taking away $10 of his savings each week by spending it. So here is our equation. Brian's side of the equation would look like this: 60 plus 5W, because he has $60 and is adding $5 each week. W represents weeks. Chris's side of the equation would look like this: 135 minus 10W, because he already has $135 in his savings account, but is spending $10 each week. We put an equal sign in between since we're trying to find out between the two expressions, since we're trying to find out how many weeks it'll take for the two to be equal in the amount of money that they have in their savings accounts. Once we have the equation, the first step would be to get the variables to one side. So we would add the 10W to both sides, and once we add the 10W to the 5W, we get 15W. That leaves us with 60 plus 15W equals 135. From here, we can add 10W to both sides. We can subtract 60 from both sides, and we are left with 15W equals 75. We are using inverse operations to isolate the variable. Now, we divide by 15 on both sides, and we get W equals 5. So it would take 5 weeks for both Brian and Chris to have the same amount of money in their savings. Now we need to find out how much money that would be. Now that we know that W equals 5, we can use substitution to plug the number 5 back into our original equation to find out how much money the boys will have in their accounts after 5 weeks. We would substitute 5 into every single space where there was a W. So our equation would look like this: 60 plus 5 times 5 equals 135 minus 10 times 5. Once we do the multiplication on both sides, you are left with 60 plus 25 equals 135 minus 50. So once you do the addition on Brian's side, you would get 85. And once you do the subtraction on Chris's side, you would get 85 as well. 85 equals 85 is true. So after 5 weeks, both Brian and Chris would have $85 in their savings account. Now you try a problem. Jennifer is baking cookies. She starts off with 20 cookies and bakes 4 more each hour. Mary starts off with 40 cookies and eats 6 each hour. How many ways will both Mary and Jennifer have the same amount of cookies, and how many cookies would that be? Good luck!